All right, it's the end of the session. I'm here with my buddy Percy, who is very interested in the treat of the handful of treats that I have. This is his roadmap to success. And Percy is a great little dog. He's awfully cute, and he's got a lot of spirit. But he is a terrier, and he has a little bit of a reactive nipping to fast-moving things. Now, fast-moving things are dogs' eyes are attracted to fast-moving things, and terriers are designed to get rats and mice and things that move very quickly. So fast, sudden movements are often difficult. Now, one of the things I was thinking about, I didn't mention earlier, is the guardian mentioned that there's a guy he nipped at, but he watched the guy likes to play tennis. So Percy's watching this guy move around really fast for a while, and then he gets to meet the guy after. That might set him up for failure a little bit. So you could do the counter conditioning for him. While the guy is playing tennis, find a place where you're far enough away where Percy will sit, and then hold the treat out like this. Now, let's do it with that mouth only. And for tennis, you can be like this, like that. But again, the whole idea is he's watching this happen. Instead of chasing them, which is his genetics, he's watching it happen, and we're counter conditioning him. We're providing a treat for sitting. And he's practicing a different behavior. Instead of running and nipping the person that's chasing the little ball, I'm watching it. Now, you might have to be like 50 yards away when you first start doing this. And then once he can stay seated and he looks nice and relaxed, he's very into the treats, then you go to like 49 feet, then 48 feet, 47, and gradually move closer and closer. Now, when you get to the point where he won't sit or he's losing interest in the treat, he's telling you he's getting close to his breaking point. The whole point of counter conditioning is the dog has to be what we call sub-threshold, which means calm. He's basically sub-threshold now. He's scratching, but he's not. Above threshold is basically hysterical. When a dog's hysterical, just like a person, you're not going to reach them or teach them anything. So we want him to practice being calm and recognizing his warning signs, and then getting him out of trouble before he actually gets into trouble. And you can see his focus is amazing. That's why I actually just got done going over a focus exercise with his guardians. Now, for the focus exercise, remember, within the first 7 days, you want to be able to get to the point where you're 15 seconds focus on that second movement. And he doesn't have to necessarily be sitting. He just should be kind of down. Normally, we wouldn't do it with him on the furniture. And do it in different parts of your house. Once you get up to the point where within a week, and he'll get bored, so make sure you're there within a week. Try to practice this a couple times a day in different places of your house. Once you get to the point where you say focus, and he'll focus for all 15 seconds on that second movement only, next step would be to practice right on the deck or right outside the front door. Probably outside the deck first. And now you can move a little faster. You might go 1 second, 2 seconds for like 5 treats, and 1 second, 4 seconds on the second movement. You can play around, but make sure he's giving you visual acuity the entire count. And if he stops, then back and count in your head. And anytime he stops and he looks away, back up and practice that previous step before he looked away. So you get a 100% success rate. Once you do it on the balcony, then you do it outside your front door, then do it in your courtyard. We kind of have a secured area before you get on the street. The next step would be to actually practice it on walks. And when all these things are going on, we're practicing the easiest capacity possible. There's no neighbor yelling at anything. There's no sirens. There's nothing else. That'll cause him to fail. And then eventually we want to do this when we're on a walk. And now we're on a walk. This would be in the second week. We want to do this where we're walking down the street and there's nobody around, and we just say focus. He looks up at us. As we continue to walk, we raise it. We'll go 1 to 1. 1 second, 1 second. Give him the treat, say focus. And then walk a little bit further on when he's not paying attention, pull another treat out, focus, he looks up, focus. And so we condition him that just looking up at us, and eventually we start going 1 second, 15 seconds before we actually deliver that treat. But again, go 1, 2, 3, and grow gradual so he's used to it. But by the end of your second week, you should be able to say focus and have him walking into things because he's looking up at you instead of looking around on the walk. That way, if you're walking down the street and you see a neighbor or somebody he's normally reactive to, you can either move away and incorporate some distance. Remember, distance is your friend anytime he's reacting to things. Thanks, buddy. Grovel. That's a little passive training. So if he does that, puts his chin, you want that to be a cute command. Every time he does that, click and give him a treat or say grovel or whatever the word is that you want to mean, beg or be cute, and put your chin on somebody's grovel. He's a smart dog. So, and this is passive training right here. Grovel. And this is actually this is basically free shaping as well. Basically, I'm waiting for him to do the thing I want, grovel. And so I didn't practice this with him at all. Grovel. He just figured this out, and this is what we call free shaping, which is a great thing to check out. Google free shaping. That's basically what we're doing here. But and this is a little bit of operant conditioning. He realized as soon as I do this, not quite the same. Sit. There we go. All right, so let's see if he'll do it again. Well, I'm going to hold the treat here, and when he does it, I will pay him for that, and that's passive training. All right, since we're talking about it, passive training is waiting for the dog to voluntarily offer you a behavior on their own and then recognizing and rewarding them when they do it. So as he was doing that, when you're watching this again, he puts his chin on my arm, and I gave him the treat, and I marked it with say the command of grovel. So for passive training, we do that with his come, with his sit, with his lay down, or this is where the dog offers the behavior organically without any influence from the human whatsoever. That little movement like that would not count for passive training because I lured him by moving my hand, I caught his attention. So every time he comes over to you, just reach over and pet him and say, come. Every time he lays down, crash or chill or whatever word you want to use. And again, name all your toys and come up with funny things. If there's something unusual he does, like I taught my dog to grumble, you can teach the dog to do those things just by marking it and recognizing, giving him a reward. Crash. That's passive training for that. I have treats, which is really what he wants, but I can reward with affection or with a treat. I don't have to always give the treat just because I'm holding him in my hand. Now, passive training is waiting for the dog to offer the behavior on its own and just being observant and recognizing it. Petting with a purpose is something different. So if he comes over and he wants attention from me, come here, buddy. Sit. 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 So basically, at that point, that's a little bit different than petting with a purpose. It's similar. Petting with a purpose normally he comes over and jumps up at me, scratches at me, he barks at me. He's telling me what to do. The more that he tells me what to do and I do it, the more he gets confused and thinking that he's in charge of me. So when he comes and nudges me, instead of me doing what he wants, I give him a counter order to tell him to sit. If he's always sitting here, I ask him to come and sit over here or lay down. He has to do something to change his state. And as soon as he does that, sit, then I would pet him and I would say just the command word. Not good sit, not Percy sit, just sit. Now, even if you want to pet him and he's not doing it, grovel. See if he'll do it again. He's very focused on these treats. You can see his focus is awesome, why that focus exercise can be so powerful for you once you really establish it. That's not what I want, buddy. Let's see if we can figure it out again. That's what you were doing during the focus exercise. That didn't work, did it? All right, so for petting with a purpose, I use the watchword of paycheck. If somebody comes in the room and sees I'm petting the dog and he's standing, they say paycheck to me. They assume I forgot to pet with a purpose. And I stop petting the dog, I tell the dog to sit, and I pet it on its chin, say sit, and I tell the person, I actually asked him to sit before you came down the hallway, and when you started walking down, he stood up and I continued petting him, which is allowed. But you won't realize how often you pet without a purpose. So if somebody says paycheck to you, even if you did it right, don't argue with them, just stop, tell the dog to sit or do something, then pet it and say it, and then explain after. Petting with a purpose and passive training, if you do nothing else, these have the best return on investment out of everything I've gone over today. Just get in the habit, it'll take you about a month to do it, but if you do get in the habit of doing both of those things, every time you pet your dog, it becomes a micro training session that builds the dog's respect for you as an authority figure. And the other thing is it also teaches the dog that I have to ask, and sitting in front of people is a way to get my attention, to get a reward or something, as opposed to pawing at them or all the rest of these things. All right, I have one ready to go. As soon as you grovel again, you're going to get it, but that's trying to take it. That's the opposite of grovel. That's trying to be, that's like mugging. So if you want to do that, you want to call that mugging. Every time he does that, give him the treat and say mugging, but that would probably not be one that I would teach. Okay, I also went over the importance of rules. The guardian has already watched some of my videos and she's already started to incorporate some of them, but she was inconsistent. She was blocking the furniture, but only some of the time. So get X mats, you probably need 6 of them, 3 for here, 3 for there. So that way he can't, if he gets up here, there's something that's blocking him essentially. At the letter X and MATS, you can get them on Amazon. Yes, that's awfully cute, but that's not going to get the treat. Cute is not what we're looking for the free shaping. All right, let me see, what else do we, so some of the rules we talked about, not being allowed the furniture, not being allowed to be within 7 feet of a human who's eating, having to sit before you let him out the door, and double length of time. Tell him to sit, give him 3 seconds. If he doesn't sit, walk away. Wait 1 minute, then go back and tell him to sit again. If he doesn't sit this time, walk away for 2 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 8 minutes. But only say it once and only give him 3 seconds. If he doesn't comply, I don't want to go outside. You better, if you want us to go outside, you better do the most minimal thing you can do as a dog. That was pretty close, but that's trying to take it. I also showed the guardian a hand targeting exercise. Make sure you keep your hand frozen once you do that, and practice that. That one you don't have to practice as much as focus, but it's a great way to redirect your dog's attention. The door exercise, again, practice having somebody come to the door, have them knock at the door, and then go to the door and move the dog away by walking towards the dog, then walk backwards 1 step, and the dog stays in place, take another step backwards. If he moves towards the door, rush towards him as your way of saying no. And don't stop until he gets across the line. Sit. Just because I have a treat doesn't mean you get it, buddy. And then break down and answer the door into individual steps so he can practice all those individual steps and understand just because I hear the deadbolt doesn't mean I can lurch towards the door. That will also help lower his intensity. And when you have guests come in, have them stay inside that box and repeat what we did for the greeting so that he understands that I'm not allowed to interact with the people until they come outside the box. And even then, I can't jump up on them because jumping up is a way of claiming. Now, we set him up for success when I first arrived for the session. I called ahead. And I had the guardian, this is an opportunity for him to do the grovel. We'll see if he figures it out. But I called ahead and sit. Because he's a little bit reactive to people he doesn't know. So I basically take these high value training treats and I made a trail, a breadcrumb. And I was sitting with my back to the door of the complex. And then he was getting all these treats. And by the time he came up to me, I was holding my hand out at the very end with one treat on it like this. It's right here, buddy. Why don't you come over here and demonstrate? Come on. So he licked up all the treats, and one was right next to it, and he licked it up, and then he licked my hand. And I left my hand there after he licked up the treat, and he licked it a couple times. That gives the dog the ability to meet through scent. Now, he just had all these positive reinforcers, all these delicious treats go on his tongue without any pressure. He didn't have to do anything. Nobody was around. It was easy. And then there was a treat here, and then he just took another step and got one on my hand. And it's the same taste, but now he's also tasting my flesh, not in a biting way, because he licks like that. And so he got to know me, and he had a positive association. Then what we did was we walked about 100 paces down the block and turned around and walked back. Dogs process things by moving forward, and being outside affords the dog the ability to have a lot of distractions and also a lot of escape routes. If I try to grab him in here, he really can't get away from me. I can eventually corner him. But outside, there's no way I'm going to catch a dog this fast. And so that makes him feel more confident and more comfortable. So I would recreate that greeting as much as you can. If the guardian has some friends that are, it's mostly males. So if you have some male friends that can actually come by and play the part of a guest, so he starts to associate, I have these males all wrong. When they come around, they're actually here to hook me up with some treats. Now I've been holding treats in my hand, so I'm pretty sure that's why he's licking them. But be careful, a dog can lick in a compulsive way, and they can also lick to mark. And so if it might be one of those things where just keep an eye on it. If he's doing it a lot, then it might be he's trying to mark you and claim you as his property. I like that. So he's very focused on the treats, but he did eventually lose a little bit of interest. Let me see. That's almost. That was a grovel. That was an accidental grovel. Let's see if he'll do it again. He's such a good-looking boy. That's why you get away with some grovel. That's why he gets away with so much trouble. Now, a lot of dogs, actually service dogs, a lot of times when a person's about to go into a PTSD rage, that's what they do. They'll actually trigger by going and putting their chin down on the guy's thigh to let the guy know, hey man, settle down, focus on me, don't worry about the outside world. So this is actually something we teach service dogs. He just coincidentally found it through free shaping. I went over some creative ways of exercising him. Right now, the guardian takes him for a 3-mile run in the morning, which is awesome. But it might be a little bit more, and it'd be better to have more frequent exercise sprinkled throughout the day as opposed to one longer one. Now, she walks him afterwards, after work as well, but using the laser, using the retractable leash on the steps by throwing those treats up and down, grovel. Comes up with easy, fast ways for us to exercise him without actually having to go out for an actual 45-minute walk. And one of the things I like to do, I don't know if the guardian, I haven't talked to her about this, if she's coordinated enough, but I have a dog that's about his size who's really high energy. And what we do is I actually put a harness on him, and I put on rollerblades, and I have him pull me from Santa Monica to Venice and back to Santa Monica on the boulevard, on the boardwalk, and he gets to pull me. I'm on rollerblades, so it's really easy. I call it dog skiing. And I feel like I'm a parade because everybody's waving at me. Dog loves it because it gets to run as much as it wants, and then you got to figure out how long they want to go. I can do about 4 miles in about 20 minutes, which in a 20-minute walk is not going to be a very efficient form of exercise. Use passive training when you're feeding him. You might want to again start feeding him out of one of those treat balls. Maybe alternate. Maybe feed him breakfast out of the treat ball and dinner out of the speed eater. But make sure that you're eating something in 5 or more bites first, and come up with a command word that means permission to eat. Get a dog bed off of Groupon. and toss the treats on there to condition him to go to Taiwan, is what we were calling the dog bed. And remember, come up with a list of fun command words. You're going to grovel one more time? No. And again, don't ask for it, just wait for it. And if he does it again, then we'll give him this last treat and we'll wrap up this video. Grovel. Couldn't have done it better on command. Now, if you have any questions or problems, please message me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that means everything's going great. The counter conditioning exercise that we talked about above, you might have to find ways to recreate that, but that's like a little bit of what I talked about, doing the counter conditioning while he's watching somebody play tennis. And so then eventually you get a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer until he can be on the tennis court. He's just like, treat. Right, Percy? Well, this is Percy, and this is Percy's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Shake. That's a hand targeting exercise, buddy. Grovel.